Chapter 21 The Return. You are listening at Mtlnovel Aud. After using the 4th level teleportation talisman, his vision suddenly went dark. When he regained his sight again, Qin Buyi found that he had arrived in a desert. There is no human habitation in the desert, and it is nothing but desolation. So close, that if he hesitated just now and was caught by Qin Qian, the consequences would be disastrous. They spent more than 2 months in the underground cave with Qin Qian. During this period, the relationship between the two could only be said to be limited by the harmony of the environment. If Qin Qian hadn't been trapped by the Star Core, with the demon clan's bloodthirsty and cruelty, it would have been more than enough for him to die once a day. Qin Buyi didn't dare to waste any time at this time. Who knew if the giant fox demon emperor Qin Qian had any other means to find him? It would be safer to complete the mission early and return to Blue Star, take the Star Core out of the storage space and quickly submit it to the system. Ding, epic mission, obtain the Star Core to complete. Drop, mission rewards, return to Blue Star, 10 attribute points, 3rd level killing sword technique, and awakening to the secret realm once, have been distributed. Does the host choose to return now? Just when Qin Buyi was about to speak, Qin Qian appeared in front of him with murderous intent. Qin Qian looked at Qin Buyi jokingly and said, "As an old friend who has been with me for more than 2 months, why didn't you leave without celebrating when you saw me getting out of trouble?" Seeing that Qin Buyi didn't speak, Qin Qian said in a teasing tone, "Am I that scary? You are not even afraid of cutting down star cores and exploding them. Am I scarier than star core explosions? Qin Buyi, why didn't you say anything? You teased me for more than 2 months in the underground cave, and how did you behave when you took away many of my treasures with just a few pieces of worthless beast meat?" Qin Buyi looked at Qin Qian seriously and said, "I wish you a happy escape, no need to celebrate. And it's the same sentence, I forced you to eat it. Did you forget it when you came up and begged me to change?" Hearing Qin Buyi's words, Qin Qian recalled some not-so-good memories. In the later stages of the underground cave, most of the treasures on her body had been replaced, the rest were low-quality things that Qin Buyi looked down upon. In order to get food, she did take the initiative to beg Qin Buyi to trade with her on several occasions. Thinking of this, the anger in Qin Qian's heart surged again, and she said to Qin Buyi, "Despicable. Originally, I wanted to kill you directly, but with your attitude, letting you die is too easy for you." Qin Buyi deliberately looked scared and said, "Do I still have a chance to survive?" Seeing Qin Buyi's fearful look, Qin Qian felt very happy and said slightly proudly, "Of course, first give me back the treasure you cheated from me before, and then give me the star core you got." After saying that, Qin Qian looked Qin Buyi up and down, and continued with a tone that said he had a winning ticket, "And I swore an oath to be my slave for the rest of my life. Don't worry, you will definitely be in great pain for the rest of your life, otherwise it will be difficult to understand the hatred in my heart." Wiping away the fear on his face, Qin Buyi slowly spat out a few words, "Dream. Idiot." At the same time, he said to the system in his heart, "Return immediately. You are looking for death." Qin Qian said angrily, "Even a fool can see that Qin Buyi was teasing Qin Qian just now." Qin Qian came to Qin Buyi in an instant and placed her delicate hands on Qin Buyi's throat. What Qin Qian didn't expect was that Qin Buyi's figure gradually faded, and her hand passed through the shadow of Qin Buyi's body. Before Qin Buyi disappeared completely, she saw Qin Buyi looking at her with a half-smile expression on his face. He didn't say a word, but he seemed to have said everything. "Ah! Damn humans, you can't escape to the end of the world. I will definitely catch you and torture you in 1,000 ways." Qin Qian roared angrily, and the whole desert echoed with Qin Qian's angry voice. Boom! Being teased by Qin Buyi over and over again, Qin Qian could no longer bear it and began to vent her emotions into the desert below. Boom! 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 Every blow was full of destructive power. When Qin Qian finished venting his anger, the entire desert seemed to have been blasted by cannonballs, and huge craters appeared in the desert. After a while, Qin Qian said in disbelief, "That human aura has completely disappeared in the entire Tianhuang realm. How is it possible?" Thinking of Qin Buyi who appeared inexplicably in the underground cave and disappeared mysteriously in the desert, Qin Qian murmured. Who is he? Falling Star Mountains. Wang Zong and City Lord Nan Tianlong moved forward cautiously. City Lord, this is it. Wang Zong pointed to the underground cave ruins that completely collapsed under Qin Qian's blow. It's its aura. It hasn't appeared in 300 years. I thought it had left the Luoxing Mountains. City Lord Nan Tianlong said. Could it be that one? Wang Zong guessed. You guessed it right. It was the saintess of the nine-tailed demon fox clan who came to the Luoxing Mountains for unknown reasons 500 years ago and suddenly disappeared 300 years ago. Nan Tianlong explained. Oh, let's go. The situation in the imperial capital is turbulent. Even Qinglong city is experiencing changes one after another. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. Nan Tianlong called Wang Zong and said, on the way back, the two saw the bear demon king whose internal organs were minced and died, and the beast demon king and wolf demon king whose heads were chopped off. Are these the three demon kings in the Luoxing Mountains? Wang Zong said in shock. Nan Tianlong nodded, and Wang Zong continued, when I encounter the demon king with the lowest cultivation level among them, he has to flee. Who did this? Looking at their injuries and the time they died, it should be him. Nan Tianlong said in an uncertain tone. Qin Buyi. How is it possible? More than 2 months ago, Qin Buyi was a kid who needed external force to kill even that old ghost Tang Jintian. Wang Zong couldn't believe that Qin Buyi had done this. Then he remembered that after Qin Buyi killed Tang Jintian, he broke through to the middle stage of nascent soul in a short while, and said in a complicated tone. What kind of monster is this? The breakthrough speed is too scary. I remember that when he first arrived in Qinglong city, it seemed that he was only at the foundation level. In just a few days, he broke through to the golden core and nascent soul. Now he has even killed the demon king of the transformation god realm. Who is he? Nan Tianlong was silent for a long time and said, perhaps he was reincarnated to be able to rebuild, and we don't rule out the possibility of being snatched away. After speaking, he took out the sound transmission jade talisman from his arms and spread the news. Daming imperial capital, the third Prince Ingji frowned and kept pacing, murmuring, this Tang family is really difficult to deal with. The eldest brother is using the Tang family to launch an offensive. He took out the sound transmission jade talisman in his arms and heard the message Nan Tianlong said. Even though he was well informed, he was stunned. After a while, he laughed and said. Brother Qin is indeed extraordinary. In just a short time, even the transformed gods have been killed by the sword. Now I don't have to worry. After Ingji returned from the Sunset Mountains, he had been busy with Qin Buyi's mission to destroy the Tang family branch in Qinglong city. In the Ming dynasty, all those without noble titles were civilians, and civilians who attacked aristocratic families should be killed. What's more, it is the Tang family, the top branch of the Ming dynasty. Ingji tried his best to prevent the Tang family from retaliating against Qin Buyi. Now that Qin Buyi can kill the gods and be automatically promoted to Baron according to the laws of the Ming dynasty, it will be much easier to deal with this matter. Blue Star, when Qin Buyi teleported, he felt as if he had been hit hard on the back of the head. His vision went dark, and when he opened his eyes again, he was back in a familiar room. After not coming back for several months, a layer of dust fell in the room. Qin Buyi looked through the window at the still dirty, messy, and poor community, and a sense of intimacy arose spontaneously as he returned to his homeland from a foreign land. After a brief cleaning of the house, Qin Buyi was about to summarize this harvest. Ding! It is detected that the host performs well in completing epic tasks, triggering additional rewards. Before Qin Buyi understood what it meant, a white egg the size of a basketball suddenly fell from the sky. With quick eyes and quick hands, Qin Buyi showed doubts in his eyes with the help of this egg. Is this a bonus? What the hell? Ding! Temporary mission trigger. Hatch this egg within 3 days, failure will erase it. Chapter 22 Hatching Eggs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding! Mission reward, 10 attribute points, pet space opened. Ding! All functions of the system mall have been restored. Seeing the system task, Qin Buyi was stunned for a moment, and said with a black line on his face. How can I be forced to sell this? You gave me an egg out of nowhere and it must be hatched within 3 days. However, Qin Buyi felt a little better when he saw the mission reward. Such a mission, with 10 attributes, can also open the pet space. If nothing goes wrong, this hatched egg will soon become his first pet. Thinking of this, Qin Buyi felt a little hopeful. Putting this basketball-sized white egg in his hand and playing with it, Qin Buyi thought about how to hatch it. Fire? Electric grill? Or plant it directly in the soil? After researching for a while, I still had no clue. My life was now tied to this egg. If I accidentally killed it, I couldn't figure it out. With the nature of the system, I estimate that it is about the same. After thinking about it, Qin Buyi decided to ask the system directly. System, how do you hatch this egg? This question requires paying 10 mall points. Will the host pay? You issued the mission, how dare you ask for money? Qin Buyi complained. The host can choose not to pay, but the egg may be accidentally killed in the process. The system only spoke half of it, and Qin Buyi instantly understood what the other half meant. I don't have any mall points now, can I owe it first? Qin Buyi asked tentatively. Cannot, the host can choose to redeem points. 1.4 low-grade spiritual stones. The system simply rejected Qin Buyi's attempt to issue an IOU. Opening the space ring presented by Ingji, he looked at the neatly arranged boxes of spiritual stones inside. This is currently one of the few things in my body that can be exchanged for points. The items obtained from Qin Qian are far more precious than these spirit stones. They are priceless and unmarketable, and it is not worth exchanging them for mall points. When I think that I have returned to Blue Star, I wonder if I will have the opportunity to return to the other world in the Luoxing Mountains to see Ingji. No longer insisting, he took out 10 boxes of low-grade spiritual stones, handed them to the system and said. Now you can tell me how to hatch this egg. After accepting 10 boxes of low-grade spiritual stones, the system's attitude immediately changed. Dear host, I am very happy to serve you. You only need to place this egg on the pile of spiritual stones to hatch it. So simple. Qin Buyi asked with some confusion. It's that simple. It has been calculated for the host that the incubation process requires approximately 290 million low-grade spiritual stones. Damn it. System, you definitely did it on purpose. I don't want this extra reward now, can I return it? Qin Buyi said with a little anger in his voice. No, moreover, this egg seems to have some connection with the host. The system said. How is that possible? Qin Buyi said in a disbelieving tone. This egg was taken out from the star core. It has been surviving inside the star core by absorbing external spiritual power until now. If the host hadn't forcibly interrupted its incubation process, it would have hatched and broken out on its own in a few decades. Warm reminder to the host, hatching this egg is definitely worth the money. Don't worry about the mere millions of spirit stones. After the system finished speaking in a tone as if it were a big deal, it returned to silence. Since he had no choice, Qin Buyi no longer hesitated and poured out all the spiritual stones in the space ring. 90 boxes of low-grade spiritual stones, 10 boxes of medium-grade spiritual stones, and 1 box of high-grade spiritual stones. If all were converted into low-grade spiritual stones, the total would be 290 million low-grade spiritual stones. The spiritual stones quickly piled up into a small mountain in the room, and the whole room was suddenly filled with rich spiritual energy. A single breath of it would be enough for a mortal to extend his life. Qin Buyi placed the egg in his hand on the top of the hill. As soon as he placed it, the rich aura that filled the room seemed to have found its source. A steady stream of people rushed towards the basketball-sized egg. Looking at the empty space ring, Qin Buyi instantly understood Qin Qian's psychology. When she thought that Qin Qian had been tricked by him into using food to get a lot of good things, but she could do nothing to him, that powerful nine-tailed demon emperor might be venting his anger on some unlucky guy. A total of 5 truly valuable items were obtained from Qin Qian. The most valuable one is the jade pendant engraved with the nine-tailed fox. The second is Qin Qian's weapon, a crimson long sword. There are 3 other items of similar quality. a red handkerchief, a bracelet, and a bellyband. Thinking of the scene when he got the bellyband, Qin Buyi was about to make a joke, but Qin Qian gave him a vicious look. Until now, Qin Buyi still occasionally murmurs in his heart, the demon clan is really open, and such personal items can be exchanged. The remaining items are of low quality and of little practical value. The reason why Qin Qian gave these priceless things to Qin Buyi was because she never thought that Qin Buyi would escape her pursuit. When she gets out of trouble one day, she can naturally get her money back from Qin Buyi with interest, but the plan was not as good as the change. Qin Buyi completed the task and returned directly to Blue Star, which directly led to the complete failure of her plan. Just when Qin Buyi was watching the incubation process with all his concentration, City S, branch of the Cultivators Association. Xiuwen, how is your father doing lately? I remember back then. President Lan Tianhe was talking to a young man in front of him when he suddenly turned to look in Qin Buyi's direction and said in a surprised tone. What a rich spiritual energy. Blue Star's spiritual energy has been exhausted for a long time. Who is so generous? Xiuwen looked at Lan Tianhe in confusion. Why didn't I feel it? Such a long distance can only be felt by those who are in the nascent soul realm. You have just broken through to the nascent soul realm, so of course you can't feel it. Let's go and have a look. After Lan Tianhe finished speaking, he picked up Xiuwen and flew out from the top floor of the association. About a minute later, Lan Tianhe looked at the dilapidated and old community below, with flies buzzing next to the trash can, and said. It's here, it's here. Uncle Lan, such a strong spiritual energy must cost at least 1 million low-grade spiritual stones. Xiuwen said with a hint of greed in his eyes. A conservative estimate would be at least 1 million, but the other party's use of the spirit stone was too simple and crude. If we set up a spirit gathering array and use it as an auxiliary, we can make perfect use of every trace of spiritual energy, and there won't be any leakage of spiritual energy like now. Lan Tianhe explained, while Xiuwen on the side thought to himself, if all these spiritual stones belong to me, my cultivation will definitely be able to break through again in a short time. When the time comes, let my father go to the Lan family to propose marriage. Maybe, no, the Lan family will definitely agree. A graceful figure appeared in Xiuwen's mind. It was Lan Linglong, the strongest person among the younger generation of the Lan family. Xiuwen couldn't help but feel a surge of anger in his heart when he thought that the other party had never looked at him directly. After I achieve these spiritual stone cultivation breakthroughs, I will ask my father to go to your Lan family to propose marriage. Then, even if you look down on me, why don't you have to marry me obediently? Xiuwen was immersed in fantasy about the future, his inner greed expanded rapidly, and his figure quickly flew towards Qin Buyi's location. When he got close to Qin Buyi's room, he gathered all his strength to attack. Boom! There was a loud noise, the window was smashed into pieces, and Xiuwen broke through the window and entered. Not good. Lan Tianhe reacted at this moment and couldn't help but feel a little headache when he saw Xiuwen's reckless behavior. He cursed secretly in his heart, this spoiled playboy, even I don't spend as much money as I do. How can the other party be an ordinary person? It's stupid to provoke him so recklessly, that even if you are dissatisfied with Xiuwen's actions, you still have to go down and take a look at the situation. If something happens to this young man on his own land, it will be hard to explain. Lan Tianhe flew into Qin Buyi's room very quickly. Seeing Xiuwen taking the initiative to attack, Qin Buyi grabbed his throat and couldn't move like a chicken. Qin Buyi had already noticed it when the two arrived, however, he is now focused on the hatching eggs, and since the other party does not provoke him, he will naturally not care about the other party. But the next moment, the other party took the initiative to attack him, and the scene that Lan Tianhe saw appeared. Qin Buyi's eyes showed cold murderous intent, and the whole room was filled with murderous intent. Xiuwen, who was the first to bear the brunt, felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar, his whole body trembling with fear. What an astonishing murderous intent! How many people must be killed to gather such terrifying murderous intent? Lan Tianhe was shocked in his heart. Seeing that Xiuwen was about to be strangled to death by Qin Buyi, he stepped forward to apologize and smooth things over with a smile. He acted impulsively and asked this young master to show mercy and spare others. Qin Buyi did not let go. He glanced at Lan Tianhe with cold eyes, and the strength in his hands suddenly increased. Xiuwen immediately rolled his eyes. Seeing this, Lan Tianhe quickly took out 10 boxes of low-grade spiritual stones from the space ring and said, "Master, this is 100,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Please spare his life, Master." Seeing that Lan Tianhe's attitude was always apologetic, he took out, low-grade spiritual stones to understand the matter. Qin Buyi looked at Dan beside him who was still absorbing spiritual energy with all his strength, and saw that the other party had not caused any damage to him. After taking the spirit stone, he released his grip on Xiuwen's neck. Ahem. Xiuwen coughed as he was put down. After a while, he recovered and hid behind Lan Tianhe, looking at Qin Buyi with fear in his eyes. Just now he felt that there was a slight movement in himself, and the result would definitely be separation of corpses. Looking at the blue sky river in front of him, he seemed to find a sense of security in his heart. The fear in his eyes gradually faded away, and he said to Qin Buyi with a hint of threat, "You know my father is." Snapped. Before he finished speaking, Lan Tianhe slapped Xiuwen on the face and shouted, "Shut up." Seeing that Xiuwen was unconvinced and seemed to want to open his mouth, Lan Tianhe glared at him fiercely and said to Qin Buyi, "Sorry for disturbing the young master, we will leave now." After that, he grabbed Xiuwen and flew away along the window. Before leaving, he glanced at the white eggs on the pile of spiritual stones that were continuously absorbing spiritual energy. My heart felt hot, and various thoughts appeared in my mind, and I quickly suppressed my greed. Although Qin Buyi's specific origins are not known, judging from the other party's cultivation and murderous intent, this is not a master who is easy to offend. Chapter 23. Okay, I get it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just after leaving Qin Buyi's home, Xiuwen stiffened his neck and asked Lan Tianhe, "Uncle Lan, why don't you let me continue talking?" "Idiot." Lan Tianhe cursed in his heart, but a gentle smile appeared on his face and said, "Xiuwen, that man is not easy to mess with. It's really hard to predict the outcome in a fight." Xiuwen curled his lips and said disapprovingly, "Uncle Lan, you are at the nascent soul realm and are about to break through to the divine transformation realm. Is that person stronger than you?" "Alas." Lan Tianhe sighed and said, "Xiuwen, this kind of person is very dangerous. Try not to provoke him if you can." He said this, but what he was thinking in his heart was, not only is he better than me, but when he looked at me, the smell of blood rushed to my face, as if he was being devoured by a wild beast. If we really fight, I will definitely be the one who dies in the end. After listening to Lan Tianhe's words, Xiuwen thought disdainfully in his heart, danger? Humph, it's not because you, an old guy, are scared. Thinking of the egg on the pile of spiritual stones in Qin Buyi's room, Xiuwen's greed was like 100 claws scratching his heart, and he said to Lan Tianhe, "Uncle Lan, did you see the egg in that person's room? The pet hatched with millions of spirit stones must be the best." Lan Tianhe had just put down his greed when he heard Xiuwen talk about it again and said with envy, "If I could hatch such an egg as a pet, I would wake up laughing even in my sleep." Recalling the way Qin Buyi pinched his neck, Xiuwen said fiercely, "I will call my father later and ask him to send someone to kill that man, torture him to death and then scatter his bones." Humph, no matter in terms of family background or future prospects, that person can't compare with me. How can he have such a top-notch pet? Don't talk nonsense. Lan Tianhe was frightened by Xiuwen's reckless words and stopped him in a cold sweat. "I'll tell you why." Qin Buyi's cold tone came from in front of the two of them. "Chong." He drew out his killing blade and walked towards the two of them step by step in the air. Qin Buyi has been paying attention to the two of them since he let them leave. It would be fine if they left safely, but he insisted on killing himself. Regarding potential dangers, Qin Buyi prefers to nip them in the bud. Lan Tianhe was not surprised when he saw Qin Buyi appear. On the contrary, it would have been a surprise if Qin Buyi did not show up. "Idiot. It's unprecedented for such a person to let you go, and you actually insist on killing him." The voice from this distance is unconcealed. With his cultivation, it's like talking in his ear. Do you really think that his cultivation is just a decoration? Lan Tianhe cursed in his heart. Lan Tianhe was completely helpless against this idiot Xiu Wan, and the pig teammates were nothing more than that. Seeing Qin Buyi getting closer and closer to him with murderous aura, Xiuwen panicked and quickly looked at Lan Tianhe. Lan Tianhe protected Xiuwen behind him and said to smooth things over, "The child is young, frivolous and ignorant. Young master, please don't argue with him." Seeing Lan Tianhe stand up for him, Xiuwen seemed to have taken reassurance, hiding behind Lan Tianhe and saying with a stern voice, "Do you know who my father is? If I break my skin, you will never survive until tomorrow morning. If you know better, get out of here." After a pause, Xiuwen added, "If you offer that egg with both hands and abandon your cultivation, I will spare your life and not hold you responsible for scaring me." Qin Buyi said with great interest, "It may not be enough to offer the egg with both hands and abandon your cultivation. Do you think I should let you kill me?" Before Xiuwen could reply, Qin Buyi attacked the two of them with a killing blade in his hand. Kill, annihilate. The waning moon enveloped the two of them. Lan Tianhe took out his weapon and spear and resisted most of the attacks. Clang! 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 The waning moon dispersed, and Xiuwen was not harmed under the full protection of Lan Tianhe. Puff! Lan Tianhe's face instantly turned pale, without any blood, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. After returning from the Luoxing Mountains, Qin Buyi had not yet had time to break through his cultivation level, but with the increase in Tianhuang body, all aspects of his body's data had already entered the realm of divine transformation. Even Lan Tianhe, who had perfected his nascent soul, couldn't help but suffer extremely serious internal injuries after resisting Qin Buyi's attack. Qin Buyi didn't use his full strength in that attack just now. He wanted to test the level of Blue Star cultivators. It seems that there is still a certain gap between it and the other world in Luoxing mountain range. Seeing that Qin Buyi was about to continue attacking, Lan Tianhe took a deep look at Qin Buyi and said, "Young master must kill him." Qin Buyi didn't expect Lan Tianhe to ask such a question, so he didn't say anything, but the killing blade he gradually raised showed Qin Buyi's attitude. Turning to look at Xiuwen, Lan Tianhe sighed and said nothing. He ducked and stood outside Qin Buyi's attack range and said, "He is responsible for everything. Master, please do as you please." After this operation, Xiuwen, who had been hiding behind Lan Tianhe, was completely stunned, looking at Qin Buyi who was like the god of death approaching gradually. Xiuwen shouted in fear, "Uncle Lan, save me, you can't ignore me. You and my father are good friends, you can't just watch me die." Lan Tianhe was watching his nose, as if he had not heard anything. When he heard Xiuwen's words, he couldn't help but think. A good friend? A shitty good friend. A brainless idiot. Don't you think it's too late now to know how to be afraid? It's not worth risking my life for you, an idiot. When he fought with Qin Buyi, the power that surpassed the nascent soul realm was really fresh in his memory. Looking at the indifferent Lan Tianhe, Xiuwen was completely desperate. He cried out to Qin Buyi with runny noses and begged. Don't kill me. My father is the president of the Cultivators Association. I can give you a lot of money, beauty, status, whatever you want. Okay, I understand. Qin Buyi said softly. Killing and slaughtering. Lan Tianhe simply closed his eyes, and even the cemetery was chosen for Xiuwen in his mind. If you dare to kill me, my father won't let you go. Xiuwen hadn't finished speaking yet. Laugh. The head fell to the ground, and Xiuwen's headless corpse fell from the air. Lan Tianhe quickly held the corpse and head in time with quick eyes and hands, and said in a negotiating tone. Sir, I have to take his body away, otherwise it will be more difficult for me to explain to his father. Qin Buyi waved his hand without saying anything, turned around and flew towards his home. Seeing that Qin Buyi had no objection to him taking Xiuwen's body, Lan Tianhe said loudly to Qin Buyi who was leaving. Sir, you have caused trouble. Leave S city immediately. The subsequent retaliation from the Cultivators Association may cost you your life. Thanks for the reminder. Qin Buyi's voice came from below. Lan Tianhe stood there for a long time. Seeing that Qin Buyi had no intention of leaving, he smiled bitterly for a long time and said, "It's true that newborn calves are not afraid of tigers." Looking at Xiuwen's body in front of him, the corner of his mouth became even more bitter, and his tone was full of helplessness. "Now we are in big trouble. If Mr. Wu knows that his youngest son died in S City, he will turn S City upside down. It will be a headache." After returning to the Cultivator Association branch in City S, Lan Tianhe reported the matter immediately, headquarters of the Kyoto Cultivators Association. Bang! A loud noise, a mahogany table instantly fell apart into countless fragments and exploded around. Everyone in the conference room was silent and did not dare to speak. "Check it for me, I want to know all his information. I want to see the head of my son's murderer within 3 days." An old man wearing a Taoist robe with a rather immortal air was roaring like an angry lion. "This person is none other than Wu Xiuwen's father, Wu Ho, a strong man in the void refining realm." "Yes." The subordinate replied. Before a cup of tea, a file marked Top Secret appeared in front of Wu Ho. "Top Secret?" Wu Ho said in surprise. "Open the file, name, Qin Buyi, level, Top Secret." The file records in detail Qin Buyi's family background and all his deeds from childhood to adulthood. Entered the highest university in China, dropped out in his junior year, and studied human anatomy, poisons, and firearms. In just 2 years, he became the most dangerous killer in Southeast Asia, nicknamed King of Night Hell. After Wu Ho flipped through the files, he murmured, "I didn't expect that he was actually related to that incident. And 3 months ago, he was just an ordinary person with no cultivation. In just 3 months, he actually broke through to nascent soul." Wu Ho's eyes lit up when he thought of this, and greed appeared in his heart and could no longer be erased. An adventure, a shocking adventure. An adventure that can allow an ordinary person to break through to the nascent soul realm in just 3 months. If I get it, then. Thinking of this, Marquis Wu's breathing gradually became faster. After a while, he ordered, "Pass this down and ask Wu Zai to go to S City and capture the kid who killed Xiuwen alive and bring him back." "Yes." Wu Kuei, who was deeply trusted by Wu Ho and was responsible for helping Wu Ho handle daily affairs, replied. "My son died in S City, and Lan Tianhe is to blame. Tell Wu Zai if you can bring Lan Tianhe's head back." Wu Ho said with a hateful tone. "President, no." Wu Kuei said. "Huh." Wu Ho narrowed his eyes and looked at Wu Kuei. Wu Kuei broke into a cold sweat at the sight, and said forcefully, "If Lan Tianhe dies, the Lan family will definitely go to war with my Wu family, and the gains will not be worth the losses." After Wu Ho thought for a while, he said to Wu Kuei, "Then I will do as you say and save Lan Tianhe's life first. 3 days is still too long. Let Wu Zai leave for City S immediately. I want to see that kid appear in front of me before sunrise tomorrow." Chapter 24 Qinglong, In the Mind of God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Qin Buyi returned to the room, 2/3 of the spiritual energy in the spiritual stone pile had been drained away and lost its luster. Is the speed of absorbing spiritual energy so fast? Waiting patiently on the side, Qin Buyi concentrated on looking at the white eggs the size of basketballs on the pile of spiritual stones. A quarter of an hour later, all the spiritual energy contained in the spiritual stones was absorbed completely. The basketball-sized egg is suspended in midair, and circles of white halo gradually appear on the surface of the eggshell. The aura expands and contracts like breathing. Pounding. Pounding, that the sound of a strong heart beating came from inside the egg. Crack, that the first cracks appear in the eggshell. Crack. Crack, that there were more and more cracks, and a small head emerged from the broken eggshell, with 2 big eyes open and curiously observing the surroundings. After seeing Qin Buyi, the little guy felt the friendly atmosphere from the human being in front of him. The little guy was so fast that even Qin Buyi didn't have time to react. He stood on Qin Buyi's shoulder with a whoosh sound. Qinglong. After seeing the little guy's appearance clearly, Qin Buyi was shocked. The little guy has a pair of rabbit eyes, antlers on his head, a body covered with fish scales like a snake, claws on his belly, and his whole body is green. Ding, the temporary task is completed and the reward has been distributed. Ding, pet space is being activated for the first time. Ding, pet space has been activated. Ding, Qinglong and the host have been forcibly bound to share the host's cultivation. After the system was bound, Qin Buyi obviously felt that the relationship between himself and the little green dragon in front of him was closer. The little green dragon on the shoulder stuck out his tongue and licked Qin Buyi's cheek. A wet feeling came from his face. Qin Buyi stretched out his hand and lifted the little green dragon on his shoulder in front of his eyes to watch carefully. Xiao Qinglong didn't struggle, and looked at Qin Buyi without any impurity in his big eyes. Watching the legendary dragon that only appears in myths come alive before your eyes, Qin Buyi looked left and right curiously, and from time to time he touched the horns on the little green dragon's head. Just for its appearance, it's worth 290 million low-grade spiritual stones. As a human native of Blue Star, I have an innate affinity for the dragon as the totem of China. Just when Qin Buyi was studying the little green dragon, there was a slight sound of sleeping, and he looked towards the source of the sound. The little Qinglong, who was held by Qin Buyi in his hand, was making a whirring sound from his mouth. "Are you asleep?" Qin Buyi whispered, gently placed the sleeping little green dragon in the broken eggshell on the pile of spiritual stones. After Qin Buyi adjusted his condition, he was ready to break through. The first thing to break through is the killing sword technique that has been stuck at the second level due to the lack of follow-up techniques. Ding, the killing sword technique has been promoted to the third level. After breaking through to the third level, the third style of the killing sword technique is called Death Zone. The Dead Zone sword technique can be used for group attacks or single attacks. After breaking through the killing sword technique, Qin Buyi began to break through the cultivation level. Completing the epic task will get 10 attribute points, and hatching the little green dragon will get another 10 points, for a total of 20 attribute points. Add some attributes to your cultivation, and first break through to the nascent soul realm. Name, Qin Buyi, Tianhuangti Elementary. All attributes increased by 5.00%, cultivation, level 100 nascent soul perfection, 100/- breakthrough possible, power, 100. Speed, 100. Stamina, 100. Attack, 100. Defense, 100. Luck, 100. Killing blade level 100, 100/- can break through, attack. 100. Killing sword technique level 100, 100/- cannot break through without follow-up, attack. 100. Qinglong level 100, 100/- can be broken through. Breakthrough. Qin Buyi shouted, the familiar sharp pain once again spread from all parts of the body. Beads of sweat the size of soybeans continued to fall from his body to the ground. Qin Buyi gritted his teeth and said nothing. The pain intensified again, and the energy and blood all over the body rushed towards Tianling Gai. Boom! A loud noise exploded in my ears like thunder, in the mind that was originally filled with darkness like chaos. After the loud noise, the first ray of light appeared. With the first ray of light appearing, it was like a torch lighting up in the endless darkness. Clang! 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 The loud noises in his head kept coming, like a hammer beating crazily on his spirit. With the beating, the light occupies more and more places in my mind. Qin Buyi almost fainted due to both physical and mental pain. A quarter of an hour later, the pain gradually dissipated, replaced by waves of coolness that appeared in my mind and throughout my body. Qin Buyi let out a long breath. Add the remaining attribute points to the cultivation level and open the personal information panel. Name, Qin Buyi, Tianhuangti Elementary. All attributes increased by 5.00%, cultivation level, level 119 early stage of divine transformation, 200/- power, 119. Speed, 119. Stamina, 119. Attack, 119. Defense, 119. Luck, 119. Killing blade level 119, 200/- attack, 119. Killing sword technique level 100, 100/- cannot break through without follow-up, attack, 100. Qinglong level 119, 200/- After breaking through to the fourth level, the biggest change is that spiritual thoughts will appear in the brain. the function of spiritual thoughts can be to control objects through the air, or to control flying swords to kill enemies thousands of miles away. More often it is used by people as a detection function. Formally, the spiritual thoughts in the early stages of becoming a god are about 100 miles away. Qin Buyi released his spiritual thoughts and extended them into the distance: 1 mile, 10 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, 500 miles, 1,000 miles. The spiritual thought extended to 1,000 miles before stopping. Within this 1,000 miles, everything appeared in detail. 1,000 miles. Qin Buyi was a little surprised, but after thinking about it carefully, it made sense. With the help of the system, all of his attribute values are ranked at the peak of the same realm. It is no exaggeration to say that he is invincible at the same level. Withdrawing his spiritual thoughts, Qin Buyi couldn't help but feel speechless when he saw that the killing sword technique that had just broken through to the 3rd level was stuck, and said, "System, what are the conditions required to obtain the 4th level killing sword technique?" Host, the 4th level killing sword technique will be passed on to you by someone in the awakening secret realm, provided you can survive. Ding, awakening mission trigger, open the secret realm of awakening within a month, survive and pass the test. Task reward, 10 attribute points, a broken blade. Awakening to the secret realm. Survived. The blade was broken into pieces. That the awakening secret realm is one of the epic mission rewards. According to the system, this secret realm seems to be extremely dangerous. Normally, mission failure results in erasure, but not this time. This shows that the system believes that if you fail the secret realm test, you will not even have a chance of survival. Qin Buyi didn't have the slightest clue about the broken blade in the mission reward, so he simply stopped thinking about it. At the same time, the branch of the Cultivators Association in City S, Lan Tianhe was looking at Qin Buyi's file at this time. As a member of the Lan family, it is not difficult to see even top-secret files. Entering the highest university in China, that girl Qinglong also graduated from the highest university in China. They might know each other. It took 2 years to become the top killer in Southeast Asia. 3 months ago, he was still an ordinary person. 3 months later, although he has not broken through to the nascent soul realm, he still has the attack power that can only be found in the early stages of becoming a god. It is really an enviable adventure. I didn't expect that he would be passively involved in that incident. No wonder the file level would become top secret. The more Lan Tianhe looked at Qin Buyi's file, the more frightened he became. At this moment, Qin Buyi's mind, which had just broken through, swept over him. Who is it? This powerful spiritual thought can only be emitted by the void refining realm. Who is it? Could it be that the old ghost from Marquis Wu came here in person? I have felt the spiritual aura of Marquis Wu, but this aura is very strange. Who is it? Lan Tianhe asked doubtfully. Chapter 25 Destroy the Kunlun Secret Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At dusk, the little green dragon woke up leisurely, and the first thing he did after waking up was to eat the eggshells cleanly. After eating, Qinglong looked at Qin Buyi with an expression that seemed to say that he was not full yet. Qin Buyi grabbed Qinglong and flew out of the house where he currently lives. This house was bought by his alternate identity. He had to live here to avoid being hunted and recuperate from his injuries. Now that his cultivation is strong, it is time for him to leave and investigate who framed him behind the scenes, and why my parents disappeared for no reason when I was a junior in college. After becoming a killer, Qin Buyi tried to investigate the disappearance of his parents through various methods, but he still found nothing. The whole thing was weird. As soon as Qin Buyi left the house with Qinglong in his arms, he met Lan Tianhe, who seemed to have come specifically to find him. Young master, leave quickly. I just got news that old ghost from Wuhou has sent a master in the early stages of becoming a god to kill you. He will probably arrive in S City in an hour or two. Lan Tianhe said in a somewhat hasty tone. After saying that, he saw Qin Buyi looking at him with a confused look on his face. He patted his forehead and continued, Wuhou is Shouwen's father and the president of the Chinese Cultivators Association. His cultivation level has exceeded the level of Lianshu. Qin Buyi looked puzzled and said, you and I are not relatives, so why did you come here to remind me? Lan Tianhe chuckled and said, my Lan family and his Wu family have been at odds for a long time. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Recalling that Xuan died under his own knife, Lan Tianhe only tried to stop it. At the time, he thought it was a little strange, but now after listening to Lan Tianhe's words, Qin Buyi understood it instantly. It's just the early stage of becoming a god. There's nothing to make a fuss about. Qin Buyi said calmly. At this moment, he has the confidence to say this. Not to mention the early stage of divine transformation, he is also fully confident in killing the mid-stage divine transformation. Young master is very strong, and the nascent soul realm can have the offensive of the god transformation realm, but after all, the opponent is a real god transformation and he is from a martial arts family, so don't lose your head. Lan Tianhe reminded Qin Buyi as he looked unconcerned. It's okay. Qin Buyi didn't explain too much. He hid his aura after breaking through to god transformation. At this time, Lan Tianhe thought Qin Buyi was in the nascent soul realm. He took out, low-grade spiritual stones from the storage space and handed them to Lan Tianhe, asking, I need some money now, how much can these spiritual stones be exchanged for? Spiritual stones are the hard currency among cultivators, but if they want to walk in the mortal world, ordinary people don't know the value of spiritual stones. For them, money is the hard currency. Lan Tianhe was a little confused by what Qin Buyi said, and asked blankly, what do you want to do? Qin Buyi didn't have a penny on him now. He took Qinglong out of his arms and said, he is a little hungry. I want to take him to eat. Belch. Little Qinglong burped as soon as he came out of his arms, and looked at the blue sky and river in front of him, and couldn't help but the water flowing from the corner of his mouth. Looking at Qin Buyi with his big eyes open, he heard a milky voice, Master, is it time to eat? Is this human in front of me dinner tonight? After Qinglong finished speaking, he stuck out his tongue and licked the corners of his mouth, looking eager to try. He pushed Qin Buyi with his little paws again. The meaning was obvious, Master, you eat first. Qin Buyi was also a little surprised when he heard Qinglong speak for the first time, but he soon returned to normal. Ordinary monsters can speak when they break through to the golden core realm, let alone a being like Qinglong whose bloodline level is higher than that of ordinary monsters by an unknown amount. After the system forcibly bound him and Qinglong to share their cultivation base, Qinglong's cultivation base was now the same as his own, in the early stage of becoming a god. All these factors combined, it is normal to be able to speak. Only then did Lan Tianhe notice the little green dragon, and he couldn't help being surprised, hatched out so soon. This is a dragon. The dragon has long been extinct on Blue Star. How did he get this dragon egg? Qinglong ignored Lan Tianhe's inner thoughts and let out a dragon roar. The palm-sized body swayed and flew towards Lan Tianhe, and its cute appearance made people want to laugh, but Lan Tianhe couldn't laugh at this moment. After hearing the dragon's roar, his whole body seemed to be frozen. Apart from the thoughts in his mind, he couldn't even move his fingers. He could only watch the little green dragon getting closer and closer to him. Roar. The little green dragon opened his mouth and was about to bite it. Snapped. The little green dragon in mid-air was grabbed by the back of the neck and held in his hand by Qin Buyi. Qinglong looked at Qin Buyi in confusion, and Qin Buyi explained, he is not food. After hearing Qin Buyi's explanation, Qinglong let out a somewhat unhappy ouch and got into Qin Buyi's arms. The restraints on Lan Tianhe's body disappeared immediately after the little green dragon got into Qin Buyi's arms. Hao let out a long breath. It had frightened him just now. The moment Qinglong opened his mouth, he seemed to see a green dragon that was 10,000 feet long and entrenched in the sky. Its two dragon eyes were like big lanterns, looking at him coldly. Qin Buyi just wanted to see Qinglong's fighting power. When he saw Lan Tianhe's performance at this time, he couldn't help but nodded and said, Qin just hatched and is not very sensible yet, so I scared you. I'm sorry. Seeing Qin Buyi's apologetic look, Lan Tianhe waved his hand and said, it's okay, this time my eyes have been opened. After laughing for a while, Lan Tianhe said seriously, Master Qin, dragons have been extinct in Blue Star for a long time. Even the Kunlun secret realm, one of the holy places in the world of cultivation, only has one dragon. And the existence of this dragon can bring countless benefits to the Kunlun secret realm every year. Its blood can be used to refine elixirs and its scales can be used to refine weapons. If the outside world knows that there is a dragon in your hand, the consequences. Before Lan Tianhe finished speaking, Qin Buyi understood what he meant and said, "Thank you for the kind reminder. I don't know where you got this dragon egg, but it's actually a green dragon. The green dragon is the head of the 4 saints and has a very special meaning in the entire dragon clan." Qin Buyi did not interrupt Lan Tianhe's words. He didn't know much about the dragon clan and listened carefully. The 4 saints are Qinglong, White Tiger, Suzaku, and Xuanwu. Qinglong is also called Songlong. He is naturally good at attacking and his status in the dragon clan is second only to the ancestral dragon. The lowest level dragon clan is the fish that transforms into a dragon, and the higher one is the dragon that transforms into a dragon. The dragon in the Kunlun secret realm has been practicing for thousands of years, and it is said that it is at the stage of transforming into a dragon. I'm not sure about what's going on. In short, you must not let others see this blue dragon until your cultivation is so strong that you can look down upon the world of cultivation. Lan Tianhe pushed back the spirit stone in Qin Buyi's hand, took out a black card from the space ring, handed it to Qin Buyi and said, "The money in it should be enough for you." After a pause, he took out another file bag marked Top Secret and handed it to Qin Buyi, saying, "I think you will be very interested in what is recorded here." Qin Buyi opened the file bag and quickly opened it, looking at the record of his life from birth to the present. When he saw the record of his junior year, Qin Buyi was stunned, and the murderous intention could not stop pouring out of him. For a long time, there were 2 lines of tears in Qin Buyi's eyes, and he said, "No wonder I have been investigating for so long, but I don't have any clues, and I can't even find any clues." It clearly records the reason why Qin Buyi's parents disappeared. A secret realm was discovered in the world of cultivation, but no one is willing to bear the price paid by outside forces to open this secret realm. In the end, it was unanimously decided to use the most cruel and cheapest method, that is, blood sacrifice. Among them, the cultivators of the Kunlun secret realm randomly grabbed some mortals from the ordinary world, including Qin Buyi's parents. Ding. Epic mission triggered. Obtain Penglai's secret realm within 1 year, failure will obliterate it. Task reward, intermediate Tianhuang body, 50 attribute points, and a broken blade. Ding, the war mission is triggered. Destroy the Kunlun secret realm within 1 year, failure will obliterate it. Task reward, volume, of 89 mysterious skills, 50 attribute points. Kunlun secret realm, you deserve to die. Qin Buyi said with murderous intent. Chapter 26 instantly kills the early stage of becoming a god. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Buyi soon calmed down and asked Lan Tianhe, "Why are you helping me?" Seeing that Qin Buyi quickly recovered from his hatred, Lan Tianhe thought more highly of Qin Buyi and said, "My Lan family has been in some trouble recently and is in urgent need of foreign help. Besides, I have been unhappy with these hypocrites wearing masks of justice for a long time." Qin Buyi stared at Lan Tianhe and said, "This file clearly states that your Lan family has no idea about my adventure." Lan Tianhe didn't shy away from it and admitted it openly. "It's a lie to say that I don't have any ideas, but it's unwise to be an enemy of someone like you. My Lan family is willing to help you get revenge. I just hope that you can help me when the Lan family is in need one day in the future." Okay. Qin Buyi agreed immediately. The Kunlun secret realm is jointly controlled by 3 strong men who have perfected the void refining, and then there are the 7 Kunlun sons, and Wuho is one of the Kunlun 7 sons. The killing of your parents this time is most likely at the hands of a member of the Wu family. The real controller of the Wu family is Wu Qinkuan, the father of Marquis Wu. His cultivation reached perfection a long time ago. The 3 major holy places in the world of cultivation are the Kunlun secret realm, the Fire Cloud secret realm, and the Shueiyue secret realm. My ancestor of the Lan family is one of the controllers of the Fire Cloud secret realm. The Shueiyue secret realm recruits only female disciples, and they rarely participate in the struggle in the world of cultivation. After Lan Tianhe finished speaking, Qin Buyi had a general understanding of the Blue Star cultivation world. First of all, the ceiling of combat power in the three major secret realms was the void refining perfection. Secondly, Blue Star's spiritual energy has been exhausted for a long time, and the spirit transformation realm has become the mainstay of the world of cultivation. If you break through to the void refining realm, you can become a big boss. For example, Wu Hou became the president of the Cultivation Association in the early stages of Lianqiu, City S, branch of the Cultivators Association. Lan Tianhe has been persuading Qin Buyi to leave S City to avoid the limelight. It was obvious that Qin Buyi was resolute and confident. He stopped talking and ordered his subordinates to go out and buy the best food. A quarter of an hour later, Qin Buyi looked at the table full of dishes in front of him. The little green dragon had already come out of Qin Buyi's arms when he smelled the aroma. At this time, he was looking at the dishes on the table with saliva and eyes shining. "Stop holding back and eat," Qin Buyi said to Qinglong. After getting Qin Buyi's promise, the little green dragon flew onto a roast chicken with a swish. "Open your mouth and bite into the roasted chicken," eating all the bones and meat. In less than 10 seconds, a roast chicken entered Qinglong's belly. Picking up the chopsticks, Qin Buyi took a few bites and then stopped using the chopsticks. After breaking through to becoming a god, ordinary food in the secular world tastes like chewing wax in your mouth. This is not to say that delicious food is unattractive to cultivators with high levels of cultivation. As their level of cultivation increases, ordinary food has too many impurities and little spiritual energy content. Only those things that are full of spiritual energy can be seen, and these are all treasures of heaven and earth. Lan Tianhe also took a few bites and put down his chopsticks. He took out a jar of wine from the space ring, opened the mud seal, and the aroma of wine overflowed. The crystal clear wine was poured from the jar into the bowl, handed to Qin Buyi and said, "Brother Qin, this is the wine I brewed myself. It is many times stronger than ordinary wine in the world. Please." Qin Buyi took the wine bowl and drank it all in one gulp. The spirit has a strong fruity aroma in the mouth, and after swallowing it, a burning sensation gradually comes out as it passes through the throat. It felt like a fierce fire was burning in my stomach, and after a while, my stomach returned to calmness. "Good wine," Qin Buyi praised. Brother, it has been more than 300 years since I brewed this wine. Most people would be reluctant to give it to me to drink." Lan Tianhe laughed. After saying that, he drank all the wine in his bowl, took out a jar of wine from the space ring and handed it to Qin Buyi, saying, "If you don't feel satisfied with drinking from a bowl, drink from the jar." While the two were tasting the wine, Qinglong had already eaten all the dishes on the table. Hiccup. After burping, Qinglong returned to Qin Buyi's shoulder. Seeing Qin Buyi's eyes shining with the wine in front of him, Lan Tianhe laughed when he saw Qinglong's appearance. He took out another jar of wine, opened the mud seal and placed it in front of Qin Buyi. The little green dragon swooped into the jar. The sound of gulu came from the wine jar. Soon the little green dragon, who was full of wine and food, flew out of the wine jar, plunged into Qin Buyi's arms, and fell asleep. Seeing Qinglong's disgusting look, Qin Buyi was a little embarrassed and said, "I made my brother laugh. It doesn't matter. This is the first time I've seen Qinglong eat. It's really different." Lan Tianhe said with a smile. After a banquet, the guests enjoyed themselves. "Brother, you can stay here. There are people from the Wu family who can help you get around," Lan Tianhe said. "Thank you for your kindness, brother. I won't cause any trouble to you." Qin Buyi declined politely. Lan Tianhe was still going to say something, when a loud noise came from outside the branch. Boom! A figure broke open the window and flew in. Looking at Qin Buyi and Lan Tianhe below, he shouted angrily. "Lan Tianhe, Xiuwen's death is indeed related to your Lan family." When Lan Tianhe saw this person, his pupils shrank and he said, "Wu Zai, don't be slanderous. When did Xiuwen's death have anything to do with my Lan family?" "Humph, the guy holding the knife below is the murderer of Xiuwen. I don't see any tension between the two of you. The evidence is conclusive. Let me see how your Lan family explains it." Wu Zai said in a bad tone. I. Lan Tianhe wanted to say something else, but Qin Buyi stretched out his hand to stop him. Chong, pulling out the killing blade, Qin Buyi looked at Wu Zai in the air and said, "Do you think this explanation is enough? A mere boy in the nascent soul realm dares to challenge me. I really don't know how to live or die. Today is the day you die." Wu Zai shouted. Qin Buyi looked at Wu Zai as if he were looking at a dead person, and shouted. Killing life and death realm. After the dark light emerged on the tip of the killing blade, it quickly condensed into a dark light beam that was only as thick as a finger. Cut. As Qin Buyi shouted, the dark beam of light quickly headed towards Wu Zai. Wu Zai's heart shivered. It's so fast. But he didn't show any signs of weakness and said, "It's just a trivial skill, but I dare to use it to embarrass myself." After saying that, an earthy yellow shield formed in front of him to protect his whole body. Lan Tianhe below saw the earth-yellow shield and thought to himself, the Wu family's secret black and yellow shield is not passed down. I didn't expect that Marquis Wu even passed it on to him. This battle will be difficult. The dark beam of light condensed by the dead silence flew in front of Wu Zai's shield and passed through without any obstruction, as if the khaki shield was made of paper. Laugh. The dark beam of light as thick as a finger pierced Wu Zai's heart, leaving a blood hole the size of a bowl on Wu Zai's body. Wu Zai never expected that the result would be like this. He couldn't even follow the opponent's move. At the end of his life, Wu Zai said in disbelief, "How is it possible?" After Wu Zai lost his life breath, his body fell from mid-air to the ground. Boom. Lan Tianhe looked at Wu Zai's body and patted his face as if in a dream. Kill the early stage of the god transformation with one blow. What a terrifying strength. He still remembered that not long ago, Qin Buyi was still in the nascent soul realm. How come his strength had undergone earth-shaking changes in less than a day? Now he understands the source of Qin Buyi's confidence. If he had this kind of strength, he would not be afraid of the Wu family's pursuit if he could instantly kill the early stage of god transformation with one strike. Chapter 27 Searching for the Kunlun Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After killing Wu Zai, Qin Buyi said goodbye to Lan Tianhe. Before leaving, Lan Tianhe handed Qin Buyi a jade transmission talisman and a dossier detailing the information about the Kunlun secret realm and said, "This file is the information about the Kunlun secret realm that my Lan family has collected over thousands of years. This sound transmission jade talisman can directly contact me." Qin Buyi took it and put it into the storage space and said, "Thanks for the help, take care." Lan Tianhe said, "Your strength is still too weak for the Kunlun secret realm. Remember not to be impatient. If you need anything from the Lan family, please feel free to contact me." "It is good." Lan Tianhe, who watched Qin Buyi leave, stood there for a long time and said in a gloating tone, "Now the Wu family will have a headache, After Qin Buyi left, he looked at the information sent by Lan Tianhe on the road, stared at one place for a long time and said, "It's here." After flying for an hour, Qin Buyi watched the endless mountains below him slowly falling. Kunlun Mountain, the entrance to the Kunlun secret realm. There is a sect in Kunlun Mountain called Kunlun Sect. It is one of the direct forces of the Kunlun secret realm, and the leader of the Kunlun sect is Wu Ho, who is now the president of the Cultivation Association. Marquis Wu is currently in Kyoto, and the person in charge of the Kunlun sect is Wu Ba, the deputy sect leader, who is in the middle stage of becoming a god. The purpose of Qin Buyi's visit this time was to collect some interest in advance. Following the intelligence guidance, Qin Buyi quickly found the exact location of the Kunlun sect. Looking at the rather impressive mountain gate in front of him, Qin Buyi stepped forward. On the left and right sides of the mountain gate stood a disciple holding a sword. One of them shouted, "Who is coming?" "Chong." Qin Buyi drew out his killing blade, kicked off the ground, and came to the side of the two disciples in an instant. The back of the knife touched their necks, and they fainted instantly. Killing can indeed solve problems simply and directly in many cases, but when faced with someone who has no direct hatred for him, Qin Buyi did not kill him. He sneaked into the mountain gate, bypassed the patrolling disciples, and caught a man who was obviously dressed differently from the other disciples. "Chong." that the sharp blade of the killing blade was pressed against the man's throat. Qin Buyi said in a cold tone, "What is your status in the Kunlun sect?" Looking at Qin Buyi with murderous intent on his face, the man swallowed nervously and stammered, Don't kill me, I am a true disciple of the Kunlun sect." True disciple? Qin Buyi asked with some confusion. The Kunlun sect is divided into outer disciples, inner disciples, and true disciples. I, the true disciple, was bribed by my family with a lot of spiritual stones, the man replied. Take me to your Kunlun sect treasure pavilion. Qin Buyi said, feeling the cold blade at his throat. The man said without any hesitation, I'll take you there. The man led the way, Qin Buyi followed behind, turning left and right at Kunlun sect for about a quarter of an hour. The man pointed to a 2-story attic in front of him and said, We're here. Boom! The back of the knife hit the man's neck, and the man instantly rolled his eyes and fainted. Qin Buyi used his exploratory eyes to look into the attic. Guarding the attic was an elder who had reached the nascent soul realm, hiding all his aura. Qin Buyi quietly opened the door of the treasure pavilion and walked in. Wu Bao, the elder of Zongbao Pavilion, was meditating with his eyes closed at this time, unaware of Qin Buyi's intrusion. After entering the treasure pavilion, the entire floor is filled with weapons and elixirs used for foundation building and golden elixir cultivation. Without any politeness, they were all put into the storage space. After looting the first floor, come to the second floor. Seeing the elder Wu Bao sitting cross-legged in the center of the second floor, Qin Buyi drew his killing blade and stepped forward. Who? Wu Bao opened his eyes and shouted angrily. The person who killed you. Qin Buyi replied. Chong, the killing blade pierced Wu Bao's heart, and Qin Buyi's wrist shook slightly, shattering his heart into pieces. Qin Buyi had no intention of letting go of all the direct descendants of the Wu family. It was the Wu family who hosted the blood sacrifice on behalf of the Kunlun secret realm. The death of his parents is definitely inseparable from the Wu family. The entire second floor was empty, and there was nothing of value. He took off the space ring from Wu Bao's body and penetrated it with his spiritual thoughts. Inside the space ring, there are boxes of spirit stones, hundreds of nascent soul realm weapons, and hundreds of bottles of nascent soul realm elixirs. It seems that everything of value is in this ring. When you reach the nascent soul realm, the value of both the weapons and elixirs you use far exceed those of the golden elixir realm, so it is not surprising to carry them with you. And inside this ring, something that made Qin Buyi's eyes shine was found, a map of the entire Kunlun sect. After walking out of the treasure pavilion, Qin Buyi followed the map to the weapon refining hall. All the weapons of the Kunlun sect come from this hall and are sent to the treasure pavilion after being refined. Without alerting the master of the weapon refining hall, Qin Buyi plundered everything in the entire weapon refining hall and put it into the storage space. In addition to the weapons that have been forged, there are also various ores used for refining weapons, as well as some semi-finished products. Following the same pattern, the Kunlun sect's alchemy hall did not escape Qin Buyi's raids. When he arrived at the royal beast hall, Qin Buyi felt a little worried when he looked at the living monsters in front of him. The system storage space cannot hold living things. At this moment, the little green dragon emerged from Qin Buyi's arms. Looking at the monsters in front of him, glistening saliva flowed from the corners of his mouth. You want to eat? Qin Buyi asked Xiao Qinglong. Little Qinglong patted his belly with his little paws and said with a milky voice, Hungry. Qin Buyi has always been a little confused about Xiao Qinglong's appetite. The table of dishes prepared by Lan Tianhe in S City was more than enough for 10 adults, but the body of the little green dragon, which was not much bigger than a palm, was eaten by force, since he couldn't take it away anyway. Qin Buyi said in an encouraging tone, Eat with an open belly. Eat as much as you can. After getting Qin Buyi's permission, Xiao Qinglong opened his mouth towards the monster in front of him and let out a dragon roar. Roar! After the dragon roared, the little green dragon burped as if swallowing. Belch! Look at the monster beasts that were still alive in the beast control hall just now. After the little green dragon let out a dragon roar, they all disappeared out of thin air. Qin Buyi said in a shocked tone, Where have these monsters gone? Xiao Qinglong pointed to his belly and said, Master, here it is. Seeing Xiao Qinglong's performance, Qin Buyi suddenly remembered what the system meant by absolute value for money. after Xiao Qinglong had eaten, he did not return to Qin Buyi's arms, but stood on his shoulders. The royal beast hall is the last place to search for the Kunlun sect. The monsters have all been eaten by the little green dragon, so there is little point in staying here. Qin Buyi flew to the sky above the Kunlun sect, drew out his killing blade, and struck towards the Kunlun sect's main hall. Killing life and death realm. A dark light emerged from the tip of the killing blade and quickly expanded into a pillar of light that was enough to cover the Kunlun sect's hall. Behead! Qin Buyi shouted softly. The dark beam of light flew towards the Kunlun sect's main hall. Boom! There was a loud noise, countless dust arose from the ground, and the Kunlun sect's main hall was now in ruins. Who dares to come to our Kunlun sect and act arrogantly? Stay alive! A man flew out of the Kunlun sect and shouted angrily, looking at the man in front of him. Qin Buyi said, Wu Ba, the deputy sect leader of Kunlun sect. Exactly, who are you? The crime of destroying my Kunlun sect's main hall is unforgivable. Wu Ba said angrily. As soon as he finished speaking, a flying sword that was only the size of a thumb came out of his mouth. Kunlun's secret technique, immortal trapping sword. Die! The flying sword rises in the wind, 1 inch, 2 inches, it was more than a foot long and headed towards Qin Buyi to kill him. Chong! The killing blade struck the flying sword, and sparks from the collision flew everywhere. Huge force came from the blade, and Qin Buyi took 3 steps back before completely releasing the force. See how many swords you can bear. Die! Kunlun's secret technique, immortal killing sword. Another sword came out of his mouth, and it quickly grew to a foot long and attacked Qin Buyi. The 2 swords cooperated very well, and Qin Buyi felt some pressure. Kill! Slaughter! Qin Buyi shouted while holding the killing blade. The killing blade vibrated at high speed and struck at the 2 swords. Chong! Chong! Gold and iron clashed, making a harsh sound. Boom! Boom! Under Qin Buyi's full strength, the killing blade flew away the 2 swords. Wu Ba's rosy face suddenly turned unhealthy pale, and he quickly stabilized the sword that had been hacked away. The smell of blood appeared in Wu Ba's mouth, and his mind was connected with the sword. He also suffered some internal injuries when the sword flew away. Kunlun's secret technique, immortal killing sword. Kunlun's secret technique, immortal sword. 2 swords flew out of his mouth again and attacked Qin Buyi. Die! Wu Ba shouted. Chong! Chong! Clang! Clang! Under the forehand sword offensive, Qin Buyi's pressure increased dramatically. Killing and slaughtering. The killing blade vibrated at high speed and slashed towards the ultimate sword among them. Chong! After hitting the target, the immortal sword just shook. Kill, annihilate. The waning moon enveloped the 4 swords. Clang! 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 The waning moon dispersed, leaving the 4 swords intact as before. After Wu Ba released the 4 swords, each sword was greatly strengthened. After 2 consecutive attacks failed to work, Qin Buyi's eyes narrowed. Gathering all his strength, Qin Buyi shouted. The realm of killing life and death. The dim light condensed on the tip of the killing blade and soon turned into a finger-sized pillar of light. Compress me. The finger-sized beam of light shook violently for a while, then compressed to only the thickness of a hair. Wu Ba felt extreme danger from the dim light as thick as a hair. Escape. Once the thought appeared in Wu Ba's mind, he could never erase it. He controlled the 4 swords with his mind and continued to attack Qin Buyi. Qin Buyi looked at Wu Ba who was running away and said, Isn't it too late to run away now? Behead! Qin Buyi shouted. The dark light as thick as a hair quickly broke away from the tip of the killing blade and attacked Wu Ba. The dark light made a sound like an arrow in the air. Whoosh! Wu Ba's body was smashed from the air, and a wound as thick as a hair gradually appeared in the center of his eyebrows. Bang! The body fell to the ground. After Wu Ba's death, the 4 swords also lost control at the same time and were caught by Qin Buyi and put into the storage space. Taking off the space ring from Wu Ba's body, Qin Buyi flew away, his voice echoing in the Kunlun sect. Thank you for the generous gift. Chapter 28 Opening the Secret Realm of Awakening. You are listening at Audio. The headquarters of the Cultivators Association. Wu Ho looked at the information sent by his subordinates, his eyes gradually turned cold, and he said with murderous intent, Wu Zai is actually dead. Sir, there is an urgent piece of information that has just been sent from within the sect. It would be better for you to take a look at it yourself. Wu Kuei handed over the information. After reading this urgent information, Wu Ho's face was so gloomy that it seemed like water could drip from his eyes. Qin Buyi, Qin Buyi. Okay, very good. After killing Wu Zai, you still dare to go to our Kunlun sect and kill the deputy sect leader Wu Ba. Pass this down, all the forces in the Wu family will pay attention to this person's movements. As soon as this person appears, they will notify me as soon as possible. I want to capture this man with my own hands. That Wu Ho's words were 1/3 genuine anger and 7-part showmanship. Ultimately, the reason why he took action personally was because he was greedy for Qin Buyi's adventure. After Qin Buyi left the Kunlun sect, he immediately handed over all the things he got from the Kunlun sect to the system mall to redeem points, calculating the total value of items. Total value, 250 points. 250 points can be converted into low-grade spiritual stones, which equals 250 million low-grade spiritual stones. The goods received from Kunlun sect are quite abundant. If I can do this a few more times, my cultivation will soon reach the point of refining the void. Qin Buyi thought to himself, but think about it, this is not realistic. You can gain so much this time because the other party is not prepared. It may not be the case next time if you are prepared. After breaking through to the 4th level, 10 system mall points can be exchanged for 1 attribute. Compared with the 3-level 5-point system mall points exchanged for 1 attribute, the improvement is fully doubled. Qin Buyi looked at the various treasures in the mall and pondered for a moment, spending 100 points to redeem a 4th-level teleportation talisman. The remaining 150 points are all converted into attributes, totaling 15 attribute points. The reason for redeeming the 4th-level teleportation talisman is that this thing can save lives at critical moments. Add all attributes to itself and open the personal information panel. Name, Qin Buyi, Tianhuangti Elementary, all attributes increased by 5.00%, cultivation level, 4th level, middle stage of divine transformation, 134/200, power, 134. Speed, 134. Stamina, 134. Attack, 134. Defense, 134. Luck, 134. Killing blade level 134, 200/dash, attack, 134. Killing sword technique level 100, 100/dash, cannot break through without follow-up, attack, 100. Qinglong level 134, 200/dash, after his cultivation reached the middle stage of becoming a god, Qin Buyi was formulating the next plan in his mind. The headquarters of the Wu family is in the secret realm of Kunlun, and I definitely can't enter it at the moment. In the secular world, most of the Wu family's assets are in Qinglong. Go to Qinglong. After the target was determined, Qin Buyi got up and headed to Qinglong, the headquarters of the Cultivators Association. Sir, Qin Buyi appeared in Qinglong and is currently starting to destroy the assets of our Wu family. Wu Kuei said with the intelligence coming from Qinglong City. Wu Ho thought happily, okay, I didn't expect him to show up so soon. He is still too young to be calm. After a brief exchange of words with Wu Kuei, Wu Ho hurriedly left the Cultivators Association and headed for Qinglong, a pawn shop in Qinglong Wu family. The person in charge of the pawn shop was an ordinary person with no cultivation, and he looked like he had seen a ghost. He watched Qin Buyi fall from a high altitude and walked into the pawn shop without saying a word. Blue Star's spiritual energy has been exhausted for a long time, and most ordinary people have no access to cultivation. Seeing Qin Buyi descending from the sky like a god, one can imagine the shock in his heart. All the pawn shops are filled with gold and silver jewelry, luxury goods, and the like. There are no spiritual stones, heavenly materials, or earthly treasures that are truly valuable in the eyes of cultivators. Without any courtesy, Qin Buyi packed all these things into the storage space. Most of the Wu family's assets were obtained through various black markets and smuggling, so Qin Buyi simply took advantage of them. After Qin Buyi took the things, Several strong men dressed in black and with large tattoos appeared from the pawn shop. "What kind of kid dares to come here to cause trouble?" The person in charge of the pawn shop kept winking at the leading strong man. Just when the leading strong man looked at the person in charge with confusion, Qin Buyi took action. After instantly knocking out everyone in the pawn shop, Qin Buyi turned around and left the pawn shop. Following the same pattern, most of the Wu family's properties in Qinglong did not escape Qin Buyi's clutches. The reason why precise strikes can be achieved is because of the information sent by Lan Tianhe. Qin Buyi couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The person who knows you best will always be your opponent. The information Lan Tianhe gave was so detailed that even the preferences of everyone in the Wu family were noted. Just as Qin Buyi was wreaking havoc, Wu Hou finally arrived. Seeing that his property was so severely damaged, Wu Hou felt no anger at all. "Qin Buyi, suffer death!" Ho Wu shouted. Qin Buyi looked back and saw Wu Hou with an angry look. "Kunlun great captor!" A big hand grabbed Qin Buyi in midair. "Lianshu!" Qin Buyi's eyes shrank. The big hand was too fast, and Qin Buyi was caught by the big hand before he could react. After catching Qin Buyi, Marquis Wu was overjoyed. Holding Qin Buyi in front of him with his big hands, Wu Hou said in a low voice, "I am very curious about what kind of shocking adventure can make an ordinary person break through to the middle stage of divine transformation in just 3 months. Qin Buyi was ready to activate the teleportation talisman at any time and said, "You don't seem angry at all." Wu Hou smiled disdainfully and said, "Angry? Compared with the adventures you have experienced, there is nothing worth being angry about. The fact that he is not good at writing is far less important than the fact that his elder brother is in my heart. As for you going to Kunlun Sect to kill Wu Ba to search for resources, or coming to Qinglong to destroy my Wu family's assets, none of this is important. If things are destroyed, they can be rebuilt, and if resources are gone, they can be retaken. But compared to the adventure that allows an ordinary person to break through to become a god in just 3 months, what are these?" After Qin Buyi heard what Marquis Wu said, he sneered and said, "I see, when I killed your son Xiao Wan, I thought all dandy boys were like this. Now it seems that the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked. With such a greedy and cold-blooded father, it's not surprising that the same is true for my son. You're a sharp-tongued boy, you're just using your words now. When I get the chance to find out about you, I'll make sure you live or die." Wu Hou said sarcastically. Qin Buyi looked at Wu Hou with a sarcastic look and said, "Are you dreaming? Are you worthy of Qiyu?" After saying that, his spiritual thoughts instantly activated the 4th level teleportation talisman, leaving only Qin Buyi's voice echoing in the air. "The next time I see you, it will be when you fall." Seeing Qin Buyi disappear in front of his eyes in an instant, Wu Hou felt as if a cooked duck flew to his mouth. Damn! What kind of magic weapon is this? How could it escape my control in an instant? Wu Hou gritted his teeth. After activating the teleportation talisman, Qin Buyi's vision went dark. When he saw the light again, he was on the sea, looking at the endless sea. Qin Buyi had no intention of admiring it. There is only one teleportation talisman. Who knows if Wu Hou has the same tracking method as Qingqian Demon Emperor? Qin Buyi said in his heart, "System, open the secret realm of awakening." Chapter 29 The Great Desolate World, All Heavens. You are listening at Audio. Opening the secret realm of awakening. Please host be prepared. Countdown 3, 2, 1. There was a strong sense of weightlessness caused by the teleportation, and it took about a quarter of an hour to return to normal. In front of him was a group of ruined palaces. Qin Buyi's teleportation point was exactly at the entrance steps of the palace. From this continuous group of palaces, you can vaguely see the glory of the past, and the strong smell of blood still lingers in the air. A sense of crisis came from all directions. Qin Buyi's current cultivation level could be regarded as the mainstay of Blue Star, but in this world, I feel as weak as an ant. Carefully step up the steps. As he walked up the steps, a force of gravity suddenly pressed on Qin Buyi. Every time you walk up a step, the force of gravity on your body increases. There are 108 steps in total. When Qin Buyi reached the 6th level of number 30, the scene in front of him changed instantly. The ruined palaces that I had seen before were now completely restored to their original state before they were destroyed. They were noble and impossible to look at directly. Immortals with powerful cultivation passed by one after another, turning a blind eye to Qin Buyi beside him. Jin Yuanzi, long time no see. A young immortal in luxurious clothes and a smile said at the end of the steps. Dong Wanggong, why didn't you stay inside and ran out? Jin Yuanzi said. This is not the first time your majesty is holding a peach party, so he specially asked me to come out to greet you. Prince Dong replied with a smile. The scene disappeared at this point, and Qin Buyi came back to his senses. The palace in front of him was still in ruins, as if what he had just seen was an illusion, but Qin Buyi knew that this was not an illusion. Picking out any one of the immortals he saw in the scene just now has the power to destroy heaven and earth. Continue walking up, and when you reach the second step of number 70, the scene in front of you changes again. Young man sitting high in the 9 heavens, exuding the aura of merit and virtue, with a handsome face and wearing an imperial crown, was holding a list and said to the 3 people in front of him. Lao Jun, Master Tong Tian, Yuanshi Tianzuan, heavenly court has been established for a long time, but many immortals in the world do not obey the management of heavenly court. This time we have called the 3 of us here to discuss the matter of this list of gods. The scene disappeared again, and Qin Buyi continued walking upward. When I reached the 108 steps, my eyes changed again. Haotian, today the rulers of heaven and earth will change dynasties. From now on, I, the Chaos Clan, will dominate this ancient world. Shouted a middle-aged man in battle armor. At this time, the young man wearing the imperial crown sitting high in the sky slowly stood up. As he stood up, the world seemed to focus on him. He pulled out the long knife in his hand, pointed at the middle-aged man and the Chaos Legion behind him, and said. The Chaos Clan has been living in chaos since before the creation of the world by the great god Pangu. Now they have come to cause trouble in the wilderness. They should be punished. Humph, if Pangu is resurrected and says this in person, he still has some qualifications, but you, Hongjun and others are all chaos demon gods. Do you really think of yourself as natives of the ancient world? The middle-aged man said disdainfully. After a pause, he added, Hongjun has disappeared without a trace, and next is you as the ruler of heaven. The middle-aged man waved his hand, and behind him, the Chaos Legion and the celestial immortals were fighting. For a time, the heaven was raging with war, and countless immortals fell one after another. Just as the fierce battle between the 2 sides was in full swing, an old man riding a green bull arrived from outside the heaven. Seeing the heavy casualties in heaven, the old man shouted angrily, One Qi transforms the 3 pure beings. 2 figures walked out of the old man's body. One looked like a young man and the other looked like a middle-aged man. My lord, this is Taishang Lao Jun, one of the 6 saints of the ancient world. A figure behind the middle-aged man stepped forward and said. After the middle-aged man heard this, he laughed. What nonsense, the 6 saints of the ancient world are just puppets controlled by the heavenly Tao. Brother, the 2 of us are here to help you. 2 figures appeared outside the heaven. Zhuxian sword formation, Qi. One of the figures shouted. Another figure took out a small flag from his arms and shouted, Panga flag, kill. That this unprecedented battle lasted for 12 years, the sun and the moon were shattered, the sky and the earth were dark, and the war came to an end, and the entire prehistoric world was finally overwhelmed. Boom! After a loud noise, the entire prehistoric world shattered into countless pieces. Emperor Haotian looked at the ancient land broken into countless pieces with a slightly sad expression. At this time, his imperial crown was broken, his white clothes were stained with blood, and there was a blood hole on his chest that penetrated the front and back. Heaven and earth will reopen. Haotian shouted, use the last strength of your body to pour it all into the knife, and the long knife blade emits yin and yang light. Half is black, half is white, black and white blend into a chaotic color. Cut. Haotian poured out all his strength and slashed hard at the middle-aged man. This is impossible, Haotian, you actually risked your life for these sentient beings. As the demon god of chaos, even if you lose your position as the emperor of the ancient world, you can still survive in the chaos again. Why should you sacrifice your life for these ant-like sentient beings in the ancient world? The middle-aged man said in shock. Laugh. Chong, The sharp blade cut through the middle-aged man's body, making a harsh sound like gold and iron clashing. The body was split in two from the middle and fell in mid-air. After the middle-aged man died, the chaotic color on the blade spread out in all directions, and the broken fragments of the ancient world quickly stabilized after contacting the mixed color. Then the debris spawned one planet after another. The larger debris formed a planet with an area tens of thousands of times that of Blue Star. There were many small fragments that formed a planet that was even smaller than Blue Star. Crack. After Haotian's full blow, the knife in his hand could no longer withstand it. The blade was broken into pieces, from the tip to the handle. Cough. A mouthful of blood spat out from Haotian's mouth, and he felt the life force draining rapidly from his body. In Haotian's mind, he recalled the scene when Pangu had a hearty chat with him in the chaos before the world opened. There is also Hong Jun, who has a somewhat gloomy personality that makes people unpredictable. At the beginning of the prehistoric era, the three clans of Dragon, Phoenix and Unicorn competed in the world, which greatly damaged the vitality of the prehistoric era, which was somewhat lacking. Later, everything developed in a good direction under his own management. The scene in front of him disappeared again, but this time Qin Buyi could not calm down for a long time, because the long knife in Haotian's hand is exactly the same as the killing blade in his hand, both in appearance and details. Qin Buyi looked at the introduction of the killing blade and the killing sword technique again. Killing blade, a sharp blade that exists for killing. The killing blade that once made countless sentient beings tremble. If you want to unlock all its secrets, you need stronger strength. Killing sword technique. This is a sword technique that was once famous in the heavens and was jointly created with the killing blade specifically for killing. When you become strong enough, someone will tell you the story behind it. This time Qin Buyi had a deeper understanding. My mind is full of doubts, and there are too many questions that I don't have answers to yet. After a long time, Qin Buyi said to himself, what is the relationship between Tianting Haotian and the Chaos Clan? The heavens and the worlds were originally transformed from the fragmentation of the ancient world. Chapter 30. A question worth 1 million. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Buyi stepped onto the platform. There were two huge stone pillars on both sides of the platform. Several golden dragons are carved on the surface of each stone pillar, and there is a plaque at the top of the two stone pillars. The plaque has been damaged by fighting in years, and the three words Nanchaman can be vaguely seen on it. This turns out to be the ancient heaven. Qin Buyi was very shocked. From the pictures left behind, Qin Buyi had already deduced in his heart that this might be the heaven, but when this result was truly confirmed, I still felt so shocked that I couldn't express it in words. Looking down from the Nanchaman, at the end of the steps I just walked, there is a word, ladder to heaven. The stairway to heaven is also known as the stairway to immortals. Legend has it that in ancient times, if a mortal could walk through these steps, he would immediately become an immortal and rank among the immortals. When Qin Buyi walked up just now, the pressure would increase with each step he advanced. It was impossible for a mortal without cultivation to walk through the steps. If you want to completely go through it, you need to at least cultivate to the realm of transformation into gods. Then I thought about it. In the ancient times, the worst people born after birth were personal immortals. As for the innate beings born with the treasure, many of them were at the level of the Luo Jingxian. It was not until later after Nuwa created humans that she gradually began to perfect the cultivation levels below human immortals due to their inherent deficiencies. Perhaps in that period, those who did not become immortals were considered mortals. Qin Buyi thought with some uncertainty. Standing on the Nantian Gate, I looked at the once magnificent palaces everywhere, but now they are in ruins. Many of them have been completely destroyed in the battle and have become ruins. Even the steps of the ladder at your feet are densely engraved with traces of fighting with different weapons. There are many steps where only half of the steps are left, with the other half being directly destroyed in the battle. At this moment, an extremely pure spiritual energy from Nantian Gate gathered on Qin Buyi's head, and the next moment it followed Qin Buyi's head and entered his body. Qin Buyi did not stop him. This extremely pure spiritual energy was of such a high level that if he compared it with the spiritual energy contained in high-grade spiritual stones, the high-grade spiritual stones would be like garbage on the street that no one wants. After the spiritual energy entered Qin Buyi's body, Qin Buyi felt as comfortable as if he had taken a cold bath in summer. Ding! It is detected that external spiritual energy is entering the host's body. About a quarter of an hour later, the first spiritual energy disappeared, and the second spiritual energy began to condense on Qin Buyi's head. The second stream of spiritual energy was purer than the first stream of spiritual energy, but when it was halfway condensed, it suddenly became powerless. The spiritual energy on Nanchaman continues to gather, but it can never be integrated into the second spiritual energy. After repeating this process several times, after the spiritual energy on Nanchaman completely dissipated, a second stream of incompletely condensed spiritual energy poured into Qin Buyi's body. Ding, the source of external spiritual energy was detected. Ding, the system is forcing intervention. The spiritual energy that had completely dispersed in Nanchaman gathered rapidly above Qin Buyi's head as if controlled by a big hand. Soon, bursts of spiritual energy hurricanes blew above Qin Buyi's head. In addition to the color of the spiritual energy hurricane also contained traces of blood. The blood-red color is filled with cold murderous intent, madness, and bloodthirst. Soon, a blood-colored spiritual energy storm filled the sky above Nanchaman, and the blood color was completely dominant at this time. The entire spiritual energy storm exudes crazy murderous intent from the inside out. As time goes by, the spiritual energy gradually liquefies. Qin Buyi stretched out his hand to grab the spiritual energy that was slowly liquefying in the air, and a drop of blood-like spiritual energy appeared in Qin Buyi's hand. Under the forced intervention of the system, the interior of the ladder made a creak sound. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the already damaged ladder was finally overwhelmed. The steps from the first step to step 1 exploded into pieces. When the ladder to heaven exploded, the connected Nanchaman shook. After the blood-colored spiritual energy completely turned into spiritual energy liquid, it instantly poured into Qin Buyi's body. The blood-colored spiritual energy entered the body, and there was no comfortable feeling. Qin Buyi felt like he was soaking in a pool of blood, with the smell of blood coming from the tip of his nose. The body felt like it was rusted from the inside out, and the joints became very sluggish. Crazy killing intent emerged in his heart, as if there was a voice in his ears that was constantly bewitching him to destroy everything in front of him. Qin Buyi closed his eyes to fight against the murderous intention in his heart. But as the bloody spiritual energy continued to pour into his body, this murderous intention is getting stronger and stronger. And there is always the possibility of losing control. Once out of control, Qin Buyi, dominated by the murderous intention, will instantly become a tool that only knows killing. A quarter of an hour later, the blood-red spiritual energy finally poured into Qin Buyi's body, and Qin Buyi slowly opened his eyes. His eyes had turned bloodthirsty red at this time, and Qin Buyi tried his best to fight against the murderous intention in his heart. Ding, converting the spiritual energy in the host body into attribute points. Conversion in progress. Drop, conversion completed. Total, attribute points. Warn, there is too much killing intent remaining in the host's body, and there is a possibility of losing control at any time. Y/N suppresses it temporarily. Suppress. Qin Buyi did not ask what the conditions for suppression were. At this time, murderous intent was constantly impacting his mind, based on his understanding of the system. Since the system asked this, no matter what the conditions were, he would definitely be able to pay. Drop, consuming attribute points to suppress. Half an hour later, his blood-red eyes gradually returned to clarity, and Qin Buyi breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, without the help of the system, it would be dangerous this time. Drop, this suppression consumed a total of 170 attribute points, and the attribute points have been deducted. The sound of the system came, and Qin Buyi froze for a long time and said, 170 attribute points. The fourth level is to exchange 10 points for 1 attribute. 170 attribute points is 1,700 points, and if it is exchanged for spiritual stones, it is 17 million low-grade spiritual stones. Qin Buyi suddenly felt that his whole heart was bleeding. It took him a while to adjust his mentality and comforted himself. It's okay. If it weren't for the help of the system, I wouldn't have been able to get so many attribute points. But after much deliberation, he still couldn't completely calm down. The system poured blood-colored aura into his body, and helped him temporarily suppress the murderous intention. But between entering and exiting, not only did he not get any benefits, but he also left a potential danger in the body that could explode at any time. Thinking of this, Qin Buyi, coupled with the system's usual performance, couldn't help but said helplessly and with a little sadness, "System, you cheated me again." Considering the host's inner feelings at this time, this disrespect will be exempted from force punishment and 10 attribute points will be deducted. The system's emotionless voice reached Qin Buyi's ears. After hearing this, his heart hurt even more. 1,000,000 low-grade spiritual stones flew away from his eyes. Qin Buyi bargained feebly. "You'd better strike me with lightning and return the attribute points to me." The system did not reply to Qin Buyi and fell into silence. Opening the personal information panel, Qin Buyi added the remaining 20 attributes to himself. Name, Qin Buyi, Tianhuangti, Elementary. All attributes increased by 5.00%, cultivation level, 4th level middle stage of divine transformation, 154/200, power, 154. Speed, 154. Stamina, 154. Attack, 154. Defense, 154. Luck, 154. Killing blade level 154, 200/dash, attack, 154. Killing sword technique level 100, 100/dash, cannot break through. Without follow-up, attack, 100. Qinglong level 154, 200/dash. The increase in strength in his body made Qin Buyi feel much better. Qin Buyi has never figured out his own cultivation system. He is obviously at the middle stage of becoming a god, but there is no trace of spiritual power in his body. Every breakthrough in the realm adds strength, physical strength and other attributes in all aspects, but there is only no spiritual attribute in it. Qin Buyi once asked the system, and the system said at that time that answering Qin Buyi's question would require, million mall points. Not to mention that Qin Buyi doesn't have this expensive price at the moment. Even if he does, he won't waste it on a problem that doesn't provide substantial help. Recalling the spiritual energy that had just been poured into his body, Qin Buyi vaguely understood why in the legend, mortals could instantly transform into immortals after walking up the ladder to heaven, judging from the pure spiritual power of the first and second streams. If the ladder to heaven is not damaged and the spiritual power continues to pour in, it is very possible to become an immortal in one day. Qin Buyi then thought that if the ladder to the sky was not damaged, perhaps the gravity would be stronger and it would be far more difficult for him to reach the top than it is now. He didn't stay too long at Nanshanmen. Although the system temporarily suppressed the murderous intention in his heart, the system didn't say how long it could suppress it. Now he just wants to complete the awakening mission quickly, which is inherently very dangerous. If you add the interference of murderous intent, the situation is basically difficult level plus hell level. Qin Buyi suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. This suppression would not be compromised at the critical moment. Based on his understanding of the system, this situation is very likely to happen. The system shouldn't be so deceptive. Maybe, probably, not. Qin Buyi thought with great uncertainty. Walking through the Nanshanmen is a very long passage, and both sides of the passage were originally guarded by heavenly soldiers, but now, except for the traces of the former guard by the heavenly soldiers, the two sides are empty. Qin Buyi continued to walk forward, and when he was almost a third of the way through the passage, a dead body with its body separated suddenly appeared, and its head was not far from the body. This was the first corpse Qin Buyi encountered after stepping into the heaven. The corpse was wearing the clothes of the heavenly soldiers seen in the remaining scenes of the ladder to heaven. Qin Buyi stopped moving forward and looked at the dead body cautiously. The corpse stood up unsteadily from the ground, its body making an unpleasant and harsh creaking sound. After standing up completely, the corpse reached out and touched the empty head position. Perhaps because he didn't touch the head, Qin Buyi could clearly feel the anger coming from the corpse. The corpse leaned down and touched around the body with both hands, and soon touched the head not far away. He picked up the head and placed it on his neck. The connection between the body and the head healed quickly, with no trace of a wound visible. The Tianbing corpse suddenly opened its eyes and looked at Qin Buyi. This weird scene happened in front of him. Qin Buyi didn't have the slightest fear in his heart. He drew out his killing blade and prepared to fight. Then he looked at the heavenly soldier with his probing eyes, and saw that the opponent's cultivation level was only the golden core perfection. At this moment, a force came out of thin air from the passage and penetrated into Qin Buyi's body. His cultivation level continued to decline from the middle stage of becoming a god, and he was suppressed until he reached the same cultivation level as the opposite heavenly soldier, who reached the golden elixir perfection. The heavenly soldier showed an unknown smile to Qin Buyi, and rushed towards Qin Buyi with a long knife in his hand. Since he had not spoken for a long time, the heavenly soldier's vocal cords rubbed together and shouted in a hoarse voice. Killing and slaughtering.